Well, conversion is a concept of, that is based on the fact that in this world, this is meant to be a material world. And anything that is not converted into material dimension, into a tangible form one way or the other, cannot really benefit people. So anything that you possess, that you have as a spiritual blessing, that is not converted to tangible, material, physical manifestation is irrelevant. So let's say God bless you. God blesses you. And where is that blessing? Nobody says it. You've got to be able to convert that blessing into some form of material manifestation. So when God blessed them in the book of in Deuteronomy, chapter 1, verse 28, he said, and he blessed them. He created them, men and female, he created them. Verse 27, 28, he blessed them. You know what? It said they should multiply, they should be fruitful,
yes,
and multiply and fill the earth. You know the next thing he did? He took them and put them in the Garden of Eden that he had created before them, where there was no man, and told them, now that the blessing to multiply is upon you, now that the blessing to be fruitful is upon you, put your hand to work and begin to release that blessing. And through work, convert that blessing to material manifestation. So the guy began to immediately work mentally first and began to name all the animals. Because there was no challenge. Before then, there was no challenge. Yes. So even though the blessing was on him, it was not visible. So until he named the animals, the blessing, until he got the challenge, and he began to exercise and work mentally first.
Creativity was provoked.
Yes, nothing came forth. There was no conversion. Then he began to discover that there was gold in that place. He began to discover there was onyx in that place. He began to work. So as he was working, the more reality of God's blessing began to manifest. So a lot of other things, but you say I should say in 2 words. So.
Yes, sir.
Anything that is not converted. If you say you are kind, you are a kind man. I believe you, but I don't see it.
Yes.
So that's why Jesus said, while you go to the left side, you never converted your kindness. He said you go to where the dogs, where the goats are. You categorize as a goat. Because you never fed me when I was hungry. And when I was naked, you didn't put clothes on my back. When I was in prison, you didn't visit. Is that your kindness? Your kindness was never converted. But to those whose kindness was converted, they will go to heaven.
I'm sorry, Pastor Sunday. I just wanted to speak something brief about that.
Yeah.
I'm somebody who everyone says, you're so kind. But actually, I haven't been converting that kindness. And I remember you using me as an example.
I didn't know. It just so happened. Just so happened.
Yeah, that was really speaking to me because usually sometimes I'm like rushing. I see somebody there suffering and I'm just rushing. I'm like rushing in the system. And that spoke volumes to me. I just wanted people to know that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, as we get ready to talk about this last one, the personal prayer retreat, can you tell us something about why did you feel like your leaders and those who wanted to become history makers need to go back to spending a minimum of, I think it's 3 days every month. And it's not just, okay, they have to spend it alone. No wife, no nothing, just them, not even ministry, just them and God.
Because I discovered that these people were busy doing God's work, working for God without God. And I discovered that because of that, they were not really carrying the nature of God. Some they could get mad, get angry, but you are trying to change the world to become God, to conform with God's kingdom. But you yourself, you are not even conformed with the kingdom of God. And what were you carrying? You are not carrying the kingdom. You are carrying your flesh. You are carrying your weaknesses. You are carrying your, the characteristics of the other kingdom, of the kingdom of darkness. Even though you are in kingdom of light, but you did not reflect the kingdom of light. So, and for the best way to do that, really, is not just to read the Bible. The best way to do that is to get into the environment of God. We have discovered that environment is 50% of what changes people, 50% of success. So the alone solitude time with God is actually more of creating the environment of God, soaking yourself in that environment, getting yourself immersed in that presence, thereby conforming to his image before you could carry and reflect that image.
Wow.
I'll testify to some of the lessons learned at History Makers. And indeed, some of the things we learned were the factors that lead to transformation, or that lead to a change. And you talked about the percentage of the pulpit ministry. That's just a small percentage.
2%.
And then there is the factor of pain, which is a slightly bigger percentage. But then there's a factor of environment, which is a much greater environment. So if you combine all these, you get an effective change. And that is what you describe in your training as the difference between a child and the son. We looked at scriptures that talked about woe unto the city, woe unto the nation whose kings are children, but then the blessed is this nation and the city whose kings are noble sons. So there is a difference between children and sons. And sons are the ones who convert. Sons are the ones who bless nations. And these are the lessons. And summing all this up, summing all these factors up, I can see now where the direction the new embassy of God is going, creating sons. And this is what is going to effect change, not only in Ukraine, but in the entire world. Because we here from Uganda, we're representing a change that is going to happen in Uganda. And so just taking these seeds and sowing them and then practicing some of these things that we've learned here. That's why we're here, testifying, having this interview, testifying to these good things that are happening, because they're going to happen. Many people are going to be drawn back here to Ukraine. Many people, we're going to bring more back to learn these lessons so that we can implement that change, so that our nation will be blessed, because we, the noble sons of God, are going to be the leaders.
So I just want to conclude that you're right. That is the basic tendency. Those are the basic tendencies and the basic tenet of the new embassy of God. The third phase where we are right now is to stop raising up members or followers or even leaders, but to begin to raise up people in God's image, to begin to raise up people who have been able to convert the word into flesh and who have been able to now become partakers of his divine nature, and thereby going now to become deliverers and saviors in those various spheres of life. And it will be enough to sow just one seed of sun in any field, and they will turn that field around, and it will become like the mustard seed that will become the major tree in that sphere, and turn and become turn the old forest into the major, into the kingdom influence that is supposed to be. And through them, the harvest comes. Because it says, the sons of the kingdom that are sown in the seed of the world, in the field of the world, they bring in the harvest. So the harvest of the world depends upon sons. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Pastor Sunday. It's an honor. It's an honor. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the training, everything that we've learned.
Yes. And if I may, just on behalf of all the many people that the God Embassy has hosted in the last 17 days, from Nigeria, from Uganda, from Sweden, United States, Canada, just different parts. We want to say to not just the leadership of God Embassy, but the entire congregation of the God Embassy, that we love you and we appreciate your hospitality. They have been wonderful, feeding us, and may the Lord reward you 1,000-fold in Jesus' name.
Amen. Bye-bye.
God bless. Thank you, sir.
Wow.